Josh here, hello YouTube, hope you're having a great day, welcome to today's video. So, let's review today the HSK Pro 4K. We have already done the first impression videos, now we have used it for a few weeks and let's see how good the mouse actually performs after all this time. Now, of course, I also have on the table my old mouse, the Ultimate Viper Ultimate, Razer Viper Ultimate. We are doing this on Aqua Control Plus, custom print, the white version. Like a medium speed cloth mouse pad with a custom print on it. And we are using the Carpio G 2.0 right-handed big size, I think it was a big size. Can you see it? No, I cannot see it. And so this is our setup. And I just totally want to talk how the mouse performs in this type of games. So, let's just first view a few gaming examples and how it looks in different performances. So we start with some typical one wall. Usually I would like 4 targets. Yeah, 1 wall, 4 targets. By the way, I'm also using a fingertip grip. I should have said at the beginning. It's kind of logical because this mouse, like if you look at it, it really only is viable in a fingertip grip. There is no option to claw grip this. There is no option to palm grip this. Like this will also not work. So it's a fingertip only. And of course I compare it to fingertip only with the Razer Viper Ultimate, which is a little bit on the heavy side. But it was quite a good mouse for fingertip gripping quite some time ago, before all the specialized mice for overheight prices came around. So we also use this in a fingertip grip, but the range of motion is very limited on this one. So keep this in mind. You can increase it a little bit by placing your fingers further up top. Maybe do that, but my main limiter is my thumb length, so there's not too much I can gain from this one. But still good enough to move up and down. So, with that being said, we review at 35 centimeters. Maybe let's do it at 45 because for this type of scenarios, that's a recommended sensitivity. Like this. Okay, so let's go. Restart, get used to the mouse a little bit so you get a fair comparison. Of course, we do the Bardos method where we make a big flick and then a small micro correction. Forgot to click on this one. Random errors happen. Something to do with the mouse. By the way, I'm not try-harding on both of them. Okay, 84. Okay, a little bit higher score, despite we missed one. And that's also my general feeling. So for this type of scenarios, what I really feel is that the HSK Pro is a lot lighter. And this is 29 grams compared to, I think it's something around 70 something grams. So less than half, and it's only grams, so it's really doesn't sound like much. So like, yeah, reduce 30 gram in whatever, it doesn't sound like much. But the big thing is that with this HSK Pro, you really get a lot faster mouse movements with better stopping power without any thought putting into it. So if you just move and without thinking about it and stop somewhere, the mouse actually moves faster and stops more precise compared to the Razer Viper. Now, currently, don't forget, I have 2 times the sensitivity on the HSK, so this looks more slower than it should be. It's a little bit stupid comparison, I know. But if you have them at the same sensitivity, the HSK just moves faster by natural, because it's a lot lighter. And the second thing is that you have to consider that the HSK is closer to actually a pen from holding a pen. So if you do it like this, you know, your index finger leading, and here as well, your index finger leading, it's kind of very close. While of course the Razer Viper feels like a complete mouse, where your grip is actually quite far apart and you move your entire hand more, and you really aim more with your fingers. And for a fingertip mouse, I think that's a really nice feature. It really yeah, kind of moves the cursor really with your fingers. So I forgot to click in. It was a ranked, a challenge mode, not a free play mode. And even if you look at the recordings and zoom in, you see that the HSK Pro, the crosser, moves faster during the big initial flick and stops more precise than with this Razor Viper. Now, as a result, there are two things. One thing is you can actually get away with having the HSK on a faster sensitivity while having the same type of stopping power, the same type of precision. Because of the missing inertia of the mouse, your muscles have a lot finer control in this type of mouse. The other thing is, you can also make the HSK sensitivity slower than with your Razor Viper, because the mouse, because it's lighter, moves faster by itself. So you can basically reach the same flick speed while having a slow sensitivity, allowing you for bigger targets, allowing you for more precision. So, for example, yeah, let's basically leave it at that. So I would just say the HSK is just for this type of scenario, for fingertip gripping and static click scenarios, you really feel a big difference between these two mice. Both are, of course, a good mouse, but the HSK clearly wins, is clearly better, mostly because of this reduced weight, and also for a tiny bit because of the form, which puts your thumb and pinky closer together, your index finger closer to the sensor, so it feels a little bit more like, you know, pointing with a pen. You know, if you want to draw this form with a pen, it's kind of very easy to follow the shape. Your brain can do this type of drawing very easy, and the more you have your point focused on the fingers, the easier this type of tracking is, and of course the smaller mouse format is better for this type of thing. Now, let's compare another thing is for dynamic clicking. Will we actually feel a big difference in dynamic clicking? The answer is yes, we already know that. And for that, let's load up our parser variation. Parser 5 targets. Yeah, let's go with this one. So this is quite a big target, but they are moving in a faster speed variation. So let's use this one. No, not really. The thing is that this mouse has a bigger inertia, which means I take longer to actually stop it precisely and longer to accelerate, and my flicks are just slower. That's why the times where I arrive too late on the target are just more often. Yeah, now got a little bit better, but this time I kind of really tried, and I'm still have a lot lower score than with the HSK Pro 4K. Even though with this mouse it's trained far longer. So when I started with this mouse, I basically played even palm grips, so it's so long ago. HSK Pro really shines in this type of scenarios, just because the bigger speed and the better stopping power just give you more precision. Because as I said, on your average dynamic clicking, you actually do not really have the time to confirm your shot before you click. You just click. So, but basically, if this would be my target, and it moves onto this position where the red thumb is, so it goes from the green to red. Now your mouse is currently here at the statistics. So what happens is, do you see the mouse? Yes. So you basically track this green thumb moving to the right side, and then you decide where it will be at the moment you arrive, and then you click at this position. In the ideal world. And with the HSK, you can just aim a little bit closer and you stop just more precisely on that specific spot. You need less micro corrections, your flick is faster. So everything is just a tiny bit more smooth and more precise, and therefore your score is higher with this type of mouse. Don't forget, this is really, your player skill stays the same. You do not become a better aimer by changing your mouse. Just the mouse makes it better. Now let's see, the next one should be some tracking. because kind of, for my taste, this scenario is a little bit too reactive for the target size. Now, the HSK Pro 4K, as stated in the name, has a 4000 Hz polling rate. Together with the sensor smoothing and dynamic polling rate, it gives you, in theory, a really smooth mouse input. But it's a lot smoother than I can actually feel, so I do not see any difference in my cursor, or feel any difference between 1000 Hz polling rate or 4000 Hz polling rate. For me, it's absolutely the same. But the question is, how much does it actually increase my in-game performance without me noticing it? Just because you don't feel it doesn't mean it doesn't actually get easier. So we have a score of 401 with a 33.5% accuracy. As you already see how big the difference is. Like you see you see small jumps, you see more jitter, you see slower acceleration, less topping power, you know, all the things you really see in my performance already. So even without seeing the score, I already can tell this will be a lot lower. Actually 418, actually not bad. Actually it was quite good. Better than expected, I have to say. I think Gauntlet might work, but I actually didn't want to play a Gauntlet. But well, maybe we have to go with a Gauntlet. Okay, let's go with the Gauntlet. Like, I hope it's close to the Kovaaks Gauntlet, so there is not too much of a difference. Yeah. So it feels like the heavier mouse is really not so floaty as HSK. And the inertia of the mouse kind of makes the aim more smooth and makes this type of very small scenarios actually a little bit easier. Of course, this type of horizontal tracking mostly depends on your arm and wrist skills, not so much on your fingertip skills. Of course, the fingertip mouse gives you most advantage in the fingertip situations. So this might be actually one type of scenario where the Razor Viper is really superior. Maybe it's because I started as a palm grip aiming and have more training in palm grip aiming than I have in fingertip aiming. Okay, actually, high score actually. Might be because of training, might be because of the bigger mouse and the inertia. But for this type of scenario, the more palm grip type mouse, where you really don't move fingers whatsoever, is actually a little bit more controlled than the floaty feeling of the HSK. So with HSK, your main pressure point on the table is really your Carpio, and your fingers are kind of floating around at this point. While with a bigger mouse, you kind of always also have a pressure point on the mouse itself, making it more stable, moving it across the mousepad. Continue with a Vox GS, balanced 150%, you see in the top left. Target switch scenario, one of the most classic ones. Kind of the targets are moving a little bit, so you cannot just treat it like a static scenario, but they're also not moving so fast that it's more like a reactive. So there's a good balance in between. Maybe that's why it's called balanced, I don't know. That was quite bad. What happens? It's fine. Okay, yeah, quite the same score as in the run. So the mistakes we made were not so big, which is good. Okay, close to the same score. A little bit lower, but not much. But it feels more tensing to play because of the heavier mouse. But again, slightly lower score in the HSK Pro, but not so much that you really would think that this is a big deal. Let's go with this one, yeah. So you need kind of big flicks in between the targets, but then also kind of fast, smooth tracking in between. So in the smooth tracking regard, the Razor Viper Ultimate was slightly better, while in the flicking regard, the HSK was slightly better. So I expect that in general, these two mice behave roughly the same in these two scenarios. This will be also the last scenario, and then we will go to our conclusion part, where I will tell you a few more secrets about the mouse shape. Oh, that was bad. Execution of this bot. Okay. Quite a bad score for my usual ones, but so for this type of scenarios, again, the Razor Viper Ultimate wins out. So with all that being said, let's go to the actual conclusion part. So what's about this mouse? So first I want to say I actually love this mouse and Carpio combination. That is the first thing I want to start with. Why? Because this combination, like the PTFE feed, a glider for your wrist, and together with the lightweight mouse, which just floats around your wrist, basically you can just lift it up all the time. It's very light. Gives you a complete your performance is completely disconnected from your mousepad. Like it performs nearly the same on the on a hard pad. It's close to the same feeling. It's a little bit more floaty, but if you do this the same like a sleeve or something and a heavier mouse on a hard pad, it gets like a lot more floaty. Like you can't stop at all anymore. Well, with this combination, you still get nearly the same type of control on a hard pad, and you nearly get the same type of speed on a control pad. So you are less dependent on your hardware setup and still get a kind of a good performance out of every setup. This is the first thing I like. Now, with this mouse in general, I feel like it performs better in general and also have better results in game with this mouse. Now, with that being said, I think it's mostly depends on the weight and the shape, and not so much on other factors like the 4K polling or the quality of this mouse. Like you see this wobbliness of this mouse, like the cheap plastics, the holes, the mouse wheel is not so good. Like all these things are actually not very good in this mouse. What really makes you better in this case is really the weight and the shape. So if you find a different mouse for a lot less money, for example, that's like this costs 180 euro plus import costs and stuff, I would recommend go for a cheaper mouse that gets the same weight and shape. And with shape also, I don't mean this specific shape, but more or less just any fingertip mouse. So out of these two mice, Razer Viper Ultimate and the HSK Pro 4K, I recommend you to buy the Razer Viper Mini. The cable one, the original one. Why? Because it's cheap as hell for 30 euro. It has all the good stuff. It has a lightweight, smaller body than this one. It's lightweight, lighter at least as this one. It still feels heavy compared to this one, so don't get me wrong, it's still kind of heavy, but well, better than other ones. And it's very cheap, like 30 euro. Easy, go for it. Now with G-Wolves, the company itself has a bad reputation about customer service. It's also placed in China, so you might not get the stuff. It had problems with exploding batteries. Now, with a small form comes two bad things. One thing is, it's kind of get hard to press right click while you lift your mouse. So if you, for example, scoping in as Ash or a window in Overwatch, you hold right click and you move your mouse, you kind of get a problem because it's really easy to push your mouse outside of your grip. Which doesn't happen so much on bigger mouse, because your grip is just more stable than with the smaller mice. The things with the smaller mice, you also do not need such a strong grip. So while you tend to overgrip on the Razer Viper Ultimate, you do not overgrip at all on the HSK Pro, which is again a pro set for this mouse. So just a lot of pros and cons thrown in together, I know. Just as a small overview of what's good, what's bad. So if you are a fingertip aimer, I recommend go for the smallest, lightest mouse you can handle. Now with that being said, I needed 1, 2, 3 weeks to get used to this mouse shape after I used the Razer Viper Mini, and to get to the Razer Viper Mini I needed 2, 3 weeks after this mice because of the small grip size. So it really felt like so cramped and so small, and you need time to get used to it, and it feels really bad the first 2 weeks. Getting smaller, and I don't know what happens if you jump straight away to the small mouse. You really feel it. Your hand will get tired from the small grip after some time in the beginning. Again, some buttons you can't really press anymore while aiming. Right click you can't press easily while repositioning your mouse. So you have disadvantages. In general, I think it makes aiming more fun. That's the main point for me, because the mouse feels lighter, it feels more connected, it feels more direct. It feels more like your skill transferring to in-game. So it feels less like getting used to a specific mouse or something. It feels more like you would just move your hand and your cursor moves where you want, basically. So it's just a more direct feel. You don't need to compensate so much for inertia. You don't need to compensate so much for mouse pads. You don't need to compensate so much for your friction of your forearm. This is Carpio G 2.0. Oh, it's called G Carpio for some reason. It's Carpio G 2.0, not G Carpio. But well, whatever. So in general, I would recommend such type of mice in fingertip aimer, but not specific to this model, but the cheapest model you can find, which is lightweight and small. This was basically my conclusion in total. Like if you see from the ranked benchmarks, so in target clicking, we got better scores with the HSK because the mouse moves just faster by itself and has better stopping power because less inertia. In tracking, well, in very thin tracking, the Razer Viper was better because we were less shaky a little bit because it has more inertia, a little bit more stable in itself. While in reactive tracking, the HSK is a little better again because we can flick and react better and faster to the thing. And again, for target switch, again, it depends, do you have more reactive or more precise target switch? So if the target switch is more like Vox.js balance, which is closer to dynamic or static clicking, then of course SHK is better. If it's more like this TRM target switch varied, which is more like smooth spot target switch or something, the Razer Viper Ultimate again wins out, but they were all very, very close to each other, so it's not a big difference. That's I have to say, it's not a big difference. And of course, it doesn't make you a better aimer anyway. But for me, the HSK is just more fun.